Hey guys, welcome back. Got something different for you guys this week. That is a 07 Kawasaki Vulcan, and it is not my bike. So it is a customer bike. I just started offering services for small jobs and stuff like that, and this is my very first one. And I talked to him. He said it was cool if we filmed it, so I want to share it with you guys. Gonna kind of somewhat do a how-to video on this bike. I'm gonna be replacing the stator, voltage regulator, a couple other things. Go through here later on in the video, but for now, let's get it off the truck and on to the lift. All right, so it's on the lift, and like I said, we're gonna be replacing the stator in this. Also the voltage regulator, and doing some work to the rotor bolt in here. So first things first, you gotta take the seat off, take the battery out. It's really easy to take these seats off. Take the key out, there's a little slot here, and then you'll turn it, and it pops it open. It's cable driven. Go ahead and set that out of the way, and then you just grab the battery out, which I've already got out. And then from there we got to drain the oil out of the bike and take this front control and footrest off, and then we can tear into the rest of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump and do that stuff real quick, and then I'll catch you guys up on what's next. Okay, I'm gonna catch you up with what I've done. So I took the front peg floorboard off, and then you have this big outer plastic cover here. There is 6 bolts holding that on. Right there, right there. Other ones are on this piece. Here, the pulley cover. The pulley cover goes right over like that, and it's held on by 4 bolts, 2 on each side. There's 1 bolt that all this kind of tucks in there too. So I got all that off, and now I just kind of, there's a clip here, a couple of clips for these wires. You can pull those and get them off to the side. And then we need to pull this case off. Now these bolts are different lengths, so I'm gonna go get a piece of cardboard and kind of draw a rough outline of that, and then stick those bolts in there because they need to go back in the same places. All the other bolts that I've taken out, I've just kind of put back where they go. Another thing I want to mention, for your shifter linkage, especially if you're working on somebody else's bike or even yours and you want to put it back the same way, I just marked where I had that that linkage came off. That way when you give the bike back to the customer, or you go to ride your bike again, your shifted, or your shifter is not all off. You can get your foot under the way you've always had it, unless somebody specifically asks you to change it. I normally try to mark it and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this cover off, go get my cardboard real quick first, and then I'll show you what we do from there. And by the way, all these bolts here are 4mm Allen. I'm not sure if somebody's replaced this one before or what, but this is a 5mm Allen, and this was a 14, I believe, right? Yeah, 14mm bolt. So I don't know why they were different. It's kind of weird. And then this is a 10mm for the shift linkage bolt. Just so you guys are aware of that. All right, now I think I said all those bolts were 4mm, 5. I misspoke. But anyways, I got those all out now. And this thing, the cover for the stator, it requires a little bit of pulling. You don't have to knock it or nothing crazy, but it is magnetized to that rotor a little bit, so it's going to take a little bit of effort to get off there. Just know that. It's not stuck, it's not, you know, nothing weird like that. Okay. So, now that we got that off, just make sure you guys can see this. I'll show it better too when I take it out. But this for sure is a burnt up stator. It happens on these Vulcans a lot. And I'll show you what we're going to do the bolt here in just a minute to try to help prevent this from happening again in the future. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute, unbolt this stuff. So you need to unbolt the stator from here and a couple of the other pieces. But I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back and kind of talk to you through what I did. But okay, so I got all that unbolted. They were supplied or screwed in there with, well, the stator itself was in there with these 3 longer 5mm bolts, and they just went right in these holes here. Then it was secured in there with this little piece, and there's 4 smaller bolts, 2 of them in this thing right here, and then down there, and that was in that piece. Then there was 2 other bolts right here, also the smaller 4mm that you have to unbolt, and then it slides out of there, and then this piece is free, and you can set it over out of the way. And I didn't show you, I talked about it, but I didn't show you what I did. Here is the little diagram thing I made for where the bolts go. I just kind of roughly drew it out. That's where the oil fill is, and then put the bolts in there because, like I said, they're not all the same length. It's kind of hard to tell because they're sticking in weird, but you need to make sure you keep track of those. Kind of the same with these. Now that I have these out, I'm going to get ready and put them back in this thing so I know where they're at when I need to put it all back together. But what I'm going to do real quick next is take this bolt out from the rotor, because on the, I think it's 2014 and newer, I may be off a year or two, but these bolts came with a hole drilled through them, and it was to help get the oil in around the stator to help keep it cool and keep them from burning up like this one did. You can order those bolts from multiple places, eBay or OEM and stuff like that, but I've got the measurements that I found online out of a Vulcan Facebook group, and I'm going to use those and take that bolt out, put it on my lathe, and I'm going to drill the holes the size it needs to be. There's a few of these videos out here of doing this. I haven't seen one of anybody doing this bolt yet, so that's why I kind of want to make this one. And I'm also going to show you guys the diagram that I found of the measurements and what size the hole needs to be and all that, because it's 2 different hole sizes. It's smaller all the way through, and then about halfway through the bolt or so there's a little bit bigger size. It's like 5/64 all the way through, and then 3/32 or something, or I can't remember now, but I'll put it up when I do the lathe work and show you guys. So I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up and get ready to do that now. So I ended up having a part go out on my lathe. One of the gears went bad, so I had to order new gear, and it was going to take a while to get here. So the guy I'm doing the bike for, I talked to him. I think I'd mentioned they make these bolts for the newer bikes. He had that's what he planned on doing to begin with, and I told him I could drill it out. So we ended up having to order one. It got here quicker, about a week's time, maybe a little less. After reading a little bit more, they're recommended to be reused anyways after they're taken out, because when you put these in here, you tighten them down to 51 foot-pounds of torque, you loosen it, and then you finish it off with the 118 final. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bolt installed, and then I can finish putting the rest of the bike together. But that's the the OEM bolt. Got a brand new bolt in there now, so I think that'll be good for it either way. And yeah, anyways, it's been about a week now since I worked on it because I was waiting for that bolt. So I'm gonna go ahead and start wrenching and get this thing done. So I forgot to film this part, but really I think all an explanation is what you need. There's multiple ways of doing this. I think I had mentioned it before in the video. It's been so long since I started recording this, I don't remember, but you gotta hold the rotor when you're trying to tighten down this bolt. There's people that do like an old school way of removing a spark plug and sticking like a leather shoelace or paracord or something in there and then you get it up to top dead center, and it doesn't allow it to make the full stroke, and it holds it to where you can tighten it. I didn't want to go through that, trying to take this off, the spark plug out and doing all that. So what I did was I just jacked up the back of the bike. I put the foot peg and the shifter back on, and I put it up in 5th gear. I think 3rd or 4th would probably be fine too. And then I lowered it back down. And since I didn't have anybody else out here to help me, I just put a ratchet strap on the back brake to hold it, and then it held that rotor for me. And so, like I said, I tightened it down to, book says like 51 to 52 foot-pounds. You back it out, and then you go 118 foot-pounds. So, like I said, forgot to film it, but now you know, and it works. Alright, as you can see, I went ahead and got the stator and the crankshaft sensor bolted in there. This is 106 inch-pounds, and these bolts are both 52 inch-pounds. This is where the plate goes, where the wiring goes down. But first, you want to put on some RTV right along the edge of your rubber gaskets right here. I'm gonna cut this hole a little bigger. Okay, so get a little bit more on this side. And this bottom one. So you want to put your crankshaft sensor grommet down in there first, and then the stator grommet goes above it. So push that down in there, and then you want to apply a little bit in between here too, in between the two grommets. Kind of try to spread it around there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just put some on the sides there. And now we can push in the next grommet. So now I'm gonna go grab the plate and get this plate stuck in here to be able to help hold this down, and then we'll get the gasket and get everything set in there. Alright, so we got our cover back on, got our wires tucked back where they need to be. And you wanna make sure, obviously you got your gasket in a good place. There's two little dowels that help make sure you get the whole thing in the right place to begin with. But like I said, don't forget to do your RTV or sealant around your two rubber seals that go in for your wires. And then I don't think I mentioned, but you really need to make sure the outer ring on the bike and this cover are really clean before you put your gasket on. You take a razor blade to a little bit. You just got to be careful, don't gouge it, and then just make sure no residues on it. Spray a little brake clean on a rag and clean it all up. But Also didn't mention the stator cover bolts on the inside, and the holder, all those bolts in there. Just put a little bit of red Loctite. Those require that, so they don't back out and end up hitting the flywheel while you're riding down the road. So got this all done. These are all torqued down to 87 inch-pounds, and just kind of try to go, you know, kind of in a star pattern or crisscross as much as you can, to keep the pressure even while you're pushing that new gasket down. So now I just need to put this pulley cover on, get these wires tucked up where they need to go, and then we have to plug in a new voltage regulator. I'm gonna try to clean some of this stuff up where some oils just kind of leaked around, and then just kind of slowly start putting some things back together, and then we'll do some tests to make sure it's good to go. I'll put the oil back in it, and I probably won't start it until tomorrow because it's got that RTV on there now. I can put the oil in it because the oil don't go up as far as where that RTV is at, so that'll be fine. But I'll do all the tests without it running for now, and tomorrow we'll fire it up and do the final test, and hopefully we got it all done. It's good to go, and we can give it back to the customer. So keep following along. Okay, we're getting it all buttoned up now. We got our cover back on. Remember, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts right here. I put a little bit of blue Loctite on those, tighten them down, and then I loosened this bolt a little bit too to get that out before, so I tightened that one back down and got the wires ran through here right. Double check before you put this on that all your wires are ran and tucked up. If you got a zip tie up behind here a little bit, do that, because they're really close to that pulley inside there. I double checked. I actually ended up kind of redoing it about 2 or 3 times until I found what I thought would be the best way to kind of have them without forcing them or nothing like that. There's kind of a couple ways you could probably route them, but I think the way I finally did it is the best. It gave it the most clearance. With that stator, I left a decent amount of wire, so there's a lot of extra wire. There's a little tab, I forgot to show you guys, on the back behind the pulley. There's a little plate that holds the wires in. I just took it and tucked up underneath there and then zip tied it so it would stay up out of the way. But after you get all that buttoned up, just kind of wipe it down. I took some brake clean up underneath here on some of the wires and stuff, like I said, where all that oil had kind of dripped out when I opened this. So now I got my cover here. We're gonna put it back on, and it's just your 5mm bolts. Get 1 or 2 started here, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of blue Loctite on these too as I put them in, just because it's best thing for it. So let's get this thing buttoned up. Now that we got that all tightened up, and go ahead and put our floorboard and shifter back on. And just make sure, I think there's actually a torque spec for these bolts around here, but you don't necessarily need them. Just be careful because this is a plastic cover. Just kind of go around and tighten them. If you notice, I kind of did a random crisscross pattern for that too. Not as necessary because you're not doing a gasket, but it's just good practice to always do that, just to kind of keep you in the same practice of putting these things on like that. So get this up here. Get these bolts started. And I'm gonna go ahead, good measure, put a little bit of blue Loctite on these two. It doesn't hurt to use blue Loctite on all your bolts on your bike. Not all bikes vibrate as much as others, but I still like to do it just because it's, I mean, you're riding it down the road, you'd hate to have something fall off that you need. And blue Loctite ain't gonna hurt nothing. So, put that on there. Just gonna finger tighten them on there for now. Just to hold this floorboard up while we put our shaft back in. And remember, we marked where we had this before, so you can put it back about where it was. It's about right there's where I got it marked. Because I'm not sure if they use this heel shifter because of the way they got it down the way it was. And I'll check with them when they come to pick it up if they'd like me to move it. And you can always ask the customer before too if they want it adjusted different or if they just want it right back where the same. But if you don't talk to the customer, always put it exactly how it was. Or your own bike, like I said, if you like where it's at. And that's just a 10mm bolt for the spline shaft piece, and you want to make sure you get that pretty good and tight. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and throw some blue Loctite on that too, because again, all bikes are slightly different when it comes to this, but those spline shafts, if you don't get them tight and they work loose as you're riding, they tend to wear those out, and you don't want to do that, especially with this bike because this is all one piece. And I don't know what it costs off the top of my head, but I'd be willing to bet it's at least $70 to $100 on the bottom side. So always good to double check those. Especially as easy as this one is to get to. Some of the bikes, like the Harleys, have them clear back behind the primary. Alright, and you just want to check them because if they get loose, then they're kind of a pain. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bolts up on the floorboard. And then I think it's time to start running some tests with it off. Actually, I got to do this voltage regulator first, so I'll go ahead and come back and show you that as soon as I get this tightened up. Alright, we're going to do the voltage regulator. I'm going to tell you a quick little tip though. So with that RTV, I use this little nozzle that came with it, and if you don't want it to dry up in there, I just kind of obviously, you know, wipe down the threads and stuff, and then I take my air compressor and just blow it through into a trash can. Just be careful because it does, you know, kind of spray out everywhere, but cleans it out so you can use it again later. It doesn't get all dried up and gunky in there. Trying to do that next time you use it. So, two 10mm bolts right here for the cover on this voltage regulator. That out of the way. Now you got another two 10mm bolts on the regulator itself. And then before you completely loosen this one, you want to push this little tab here. It's even probably better before you do the bottom one, but push this tab and unclip it. Go ahead and put it out of the way. It's just kind of easier to do it before you take the bolts out, so it kind of holds itself for you. Got that out of the way. And while we got this off, I like to go ahead and spray it with a little contact cleaner, just to kind of help clean it up while it's off. Not gonna hurt anything. Just grab your new one and then you can go ahead and plug it in. And we will keep track of the bolts. There's two different sizes. The longer bolts are for the regulator itself. And I like to put the bottom one in first. And we'll get it snugged up. Just a little bit. And then we'll get this next one started on the top. And then you can slowly tighten them down. Voltage regulator is super easy to replace. As you can see, it's just 4 bolts and 1 plug, so not much to it. And it doesn't need to be overly tight. And then I'm gonna clean this up real quick before I throw it back on, but same thing, just put them bolts in and good to go. Alright guys, so it's been roughly 24 hours. I put a little bit of polish on all the chrome last night while it was sitting in here. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe all that off. Just try to make it look a little better when the customer comes and gets it. But I'm getting ready to finish wiping that off, and then we're gonna hook the battery up and make sure it's charging. Did some static tests last night, seemed alright. So yeah, we're this close to being completely finished. As soon as we make sure it's charging and wipe all this stuff off, I think we'll be good to go. Ride it just around the block for a mile or two, make sure it's still good when we come back, and then we got our first customer buy complete.